2 years ago, the Nuggets won it all. The media talked about a dynasty, the perfect starting five, Jokic the best offensive player alive, surrounded by ideal role players. What could go wrong? A lot. But now that Cam Johnson, Bruce Brown, and more additions are here, maybe there is some light at the end of the tunnel for us. The Nuggets became a victim to the business of the modern NBA. The second year ripped them apart, from losing Bruce Brown and Jeff Green that summer of the championship, to blowing a 20-point lead at home during a Game 7, and to make matters worse, after that humiliation, they lost KCP. This year really felt like the walls were caving in on the Nuggets, and I would just sit in my living rooms in silence, watching Jokic try to carry this broken roster. He had 56 against the Wizards, who hadn't won a game in a month, or the time Russell Westbrook ruined his 60-point triple-double. But the vibes had never been worse than when falling that game and 3 more consecutive losses. With only a week before the playoffs, the team decided to stop choosing between Calvin Booth and Mike Malone, so they fired them both. Heading into the playoffs, I had no expectations whatsoever. The Clippers were the hottest team in the NBA to end the season, but my god, what a series that was, and the Nuggets came out on top pretty convincingly. However, heading into the series against the OKC Thunder, who were so dominant, I was even more pessimistic. But they just kept shocking me with gutsy win after gutsy win. It was looking like Game 7 would be one for the ages. But then, at the end of the first quarter, this ugly bastard decided to put in a bench unit without Jamal or Jokic in a playoff game. The Thunder went on a 10-0 run, and the game was over from there. Anyway, the reason I'm telling you this backstory is for one reason and one reason only. I was terrified, because many people felt the same way as me. Low expectations, but the Nuggets championship experience, and, well, Jokic being Jokic, kept them fighting. I was 1000% certain that the front office would see the Nuggets pushing the Thunder to 7 say, we almost had it, and get comfortable running it back with the same roster. I really thought the Nikola Jokic era would end with this core 4, just repeating 50-something win seasons that end disappointingly, just like this. And my GOAT would retire without ever seriously competing for a championship ever again. And before I continue, I just want to say thank you, Mike, for everything. Me and my friends shit on him a lot, but it really does hurt me to see him go. From falling to 13th in the draft, to recovering from 3 back surgeries, to becoming the best shooter in Nuggets history. You gave us a title, played through injury, and gave me and my friends so many funny moments. You're an all-time Nugget, and I thank you. Now, with that being said, the biggest reason that I was afraid that Jokic would retire without another ring is because of how bad MPJ has played in these last playoffs. It's commendable he was even out there in the first place. He was basically playing on one shoulder, but that's exactly why I was afraid. Why would teams want to trade for a spot-up shooter with one shoulder and makes the same money as the MVP of the league? He basically got played off the floor in the series, averaging 7 points a game and shooting 25% from 3. And MPJ's contract was quickly becoming one of the worst in the league, alongside of Jamal Murray's contract, which is debatably also becoming one of the worst contracts in the league, but that's a topic for another day. But the first day of free agency hit, and the biggest news wasn't any of the new free agents. It was a blockbuster move. The Denver Nuggets sent out Michael Porter Jr. and a 2032 first-round pick for Cam Johnson. I couldn't believe it. I thought I was stuck with Curious Mike forever.
How Homeland Security is the team that invaded Diddy's house. Why they went to his house.
But my life was saved by Ben Tenzer and John Wallace. This Cam Johnson trade is just a home run move for the Nuggets. I love it so much. Aside from, well, fucking Kevin Durant, Cam Johnson has been my favorite trade target for us, and they pulled it off. Not only is Cam nearly $20 million cheaper than MPJ, but he's also the better defender, I'd say just as good of a shooter, and he's proved himself to be a kind of one option this year on the Nets, which in my opinion proves he has a higher ceiling than Mike. Believe me, I've seen him try to play basketball without Jokic handoff screens, and it's not pretty. However, in Brooklyn, it's a different story. I'm all for green light MPJ, where him and Cam Johnson will probably average 3 assists combined. And since I think that ceiling is higher, I don't think people understand just how good Cam Johnson is going to be next to Nikola Jokic. He is going to thrive in that Michael Porter Jr. role. I think Cam is going to be a seamless fit. My only concern is availability. MPJ turned himself from a guy who couldn't be on the court at all to someone who only missed 2 games in the last 2 years. This trade is saving the Nuggets nearly $20 million, giving them financial flexibility, which is something they haven't had in what feels like forever, and have been able to add even more pieces, like the open secret of Bruce Brown returning, a vet shooter in Tim Hardaway Jr., and for the first time in Jokic's career, an actual backup center. I finally won't have to watch DeAndre Jordan in 2025 playing real playoff minutes. Do you understand my joy? I don't care that it's Valanciunas. I know he's not much of a better upgrade, but he's a real player. He's not DeAndre Jordan. Another depth piece the Nuggets will be adding this year is rookie Deron Holmes playing his first official year. Last year when we drafted this guy, I thought he was going to be huge for the team, and he probably maybe would have. It's kind of like a weird butterfly effect, and not a lot of people talk about. If Deron works out for the team, they have another warm body, stretch 5 out there. I was watching the Summer League game where he tore his Achilles because I was so excited, and that's just so unlucky. We could potentially have a Peyton Watson or Julian Strawther leap. Julian Strawther had a huge game against the Thunder. It was huge. Peyton Watson, long athletic defender like Tumani Kamara and Amen Thompson, Bilal Coulibaly. Plus, his corner 3 is real. And yes, you could say I'm being too optimistic. Bruce Brown in 2025, I'm relying on these newer young guys, and Cam Johnson might not move the needle because he's too similar to MPJ. For one reason, and one reason alone, I believe all of this will work. And that reason is Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is the greatest floor raiser in NBA history. I could go as far as to say he's the greatest offensive player in NBA history, and that's not ridiculous to say that. The Nuggets added Westbrook, who just came off maybe the worst playoff series of his career, and he's had a lot of those. But Jokic saw something in him, and he turned Westbrook back into a demon, who I hope comes back. And I think the new GM see what I see in Jokic. Some people think that this is a ridiculous move by the Nuggets, that it doesn't really move the needle for them, especially that 2032 pick. That's probably going to be super valuable. Jokic will be about 37, but I love the use of this pick. It's bold, and even though it'll hurt looking back in 7 years because that team is probably going to be shit and it'll be a high draft pick, but if Jokic manages to win another championship, if not multiple, I think it'll all be worth it in the end. Even if he doesn't, I still love the move. There have been many franchises in NBA history that have had these once-in-a-lifetime stars and are too afraid to mortgage their future, using their assets to optimize the miracles that have been given to them. So I love this use of that pick for that reason. The organization has finally realized what they have. A top 10 player of all time, a 3-time MVP, somehow coming off of his best season yet, in the middle of his prime, Jokic, and are willing to sacrifice anything to optimize his career, something the devil himself almost wasted. So clearly I'm loving these moves, but let me know what you guys think. Do you guys like it? Do you guys hate it? Let me know, and thank you for watching, and take care of yourself.
Guess they got this shit off for a rap. High speed chasing, I should've been touring. Only when it's sunny, I believe your cap.